Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another wonderful edition of Friday Ramblings. Now, I'm going to try to be very positive here because we are all coming off our Thanksgiving feasting hangovers, at least all of us here in America. Any viewers who are watching from outside of America, you know, it's American tradition. I'm certainly not trying to exclude you. Hopefully you are full of positive vibes too, and we're going to keep this positive vibe rolling as we officially kick off the Christmas season, because I'm sorry, Christmas does not start before Thanksgiving. It sure as hell does not start in September or August. I'm not going to fight you on that one because we're going to remain positive here. So I'd like to discuss something I'm thankful for as a final blowout, bow out to the Thanksgiving season, and that is not just professional wrestling, not just tag team wrestling, but tag teams who wonderfully embody and epitomize that big, strong, brawling, just beat you down ugly and smile and laugh about it the whole time, classic style of wrestling that frankly never gets old. I'm sorry, but if you and your tag team partner are two big bruisers who go in there, take no prisoners, show no mercy, and win the matches as quick as possible, hey, I'm going to enjoy watching it because that touches into the most primal things that makes, pardon me folks, that makes wrestling an incredible form of entertainment. So, we're going to go ahead and talk about the most recent of 4 tag teams I'm highlighting today. The ones who have had the least amount of years, but have already notched up a hell of a reputation. And that is the Authors of Pain. Usually shorthanded to AOP because, hey, we're a culture of shorthanding things. Team is composed of Occam and Razor. Yes, as in Occam's razor. The simplest solution is often the correct one, and that pretty much sums up their wrestling style. Go in there, toss you around the ring till you quit twitching. Simplest strategies are often the most successful. And if you want to know success, they first teamed up in June 2016, which means they have been together for a little less than 3.5 years. Half. And in that time, they have won the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, the NXT Tag Team Champions, and the Raw Tag Team Championship, despite spending a pretty good amount of time suffering from injuries, especially since early 2018 when they were promoted to the main roster from the NXT developmental system. Now, originally in the developmental system, they were managed by Precious Paul Ellering, and we will definitely discuss Precious Paul Ellering more. Those of you who know wrestling and know Paul Ellering know what foreshadowing that leads up to, and yes, I'm not even going to deny it. However, shortly after being promoted to the Raw brand, Occam and Razor fired Paul Ellering, were briefly managed by Drake Maverick. However, after their most recent hiatus that they returned from just this past Monday on Raw, they have decided to break off from Drake Maverick. Now, the basics of the Authors of Pain gimmick is that these are two men who are not American born and raised. This is based off who they are as real life people. Let me go ahead and just double check my source here, make sure I get this 100% right. But Occam is a Canadian professional wrestler and former amateur wrestler. And as an amateur wrestler, won gold medals in the 115 kilogram category at the 2009 Canada Summer Games and a silver medal at the 2011 Pan American Games. Whereas his partner Razor is a Dutch professional wrestler, former mixed martial artist for Bellator MMA, and a few other MMA and kickboxing organizations around the world. Now, their gimmick is that basically they are men who, as they have put in their most recent promos, building up to their in-ring return, were born for war, born for violence, born to conquer. That really has been their gimmick the entire time. However, in NXT, there was not a lot of time spent specifying that. However, there were certainly hints of their military mindset, with them coming out wearing flak jackets and camo-inspired ring gear. And they, simply put, they are, as I put it, two large guys who go to the ring and usually in less time than it takes most people to make their ring entrances, tear down their opponents. They've got one of my favorite all-time, any decade tag team, double team moves, which is the Super Collider, where they each pick an opponent up for a powerbomb. While they've got them up in the air, smash them back to back before finishing the powerbomb to the ground. I mean, that is not just painful. That is embarrassing. To sit there and say, we have so much control over you, not only can we powerbomb you unconscious, but we are going to smack you with your partner before we put you down and out. Now, as I said, unfortunately, the Authors of Pain have suffered from a lot of injuries and lost momentum. So, currently, they do not have a ton of accolades. However, if you do want to know what the Authors of Pain do and do best, and you have access to WWE Network, go ahead and watch the finals of the 2000 Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, which took place at NXT TakeOver Toronto, where they defeated TM61, aka TMDK, aka the Mighty Don't Kneel, an Australian professional wrestling team who, up until their recent professional separation, were considered one of the great tag teams on the independent scene, and had they stayed together, probably would have become one of the great future tag teams of WWE. Now, I'm definitely hoping with their return that they continue to kick butt and take names. Personally, I would love to see them reunite with Paul Ellering. I have never been 100% sure why they separated from Paul Ellering upon graduating the main roster, but, you know, hopefully this time away and the vignettes that they filmed hyping up their return to the active roster have given Akam and Razor a lot more confidence on the mic, so they can cut some great promos to back up their great brawling style. And with the rise of the Viking Raiders, aka Ring of Honor's Team War Machine, who is another classic brawling tag team that could have fit in this category, but I chose not to include them because, you know, frankly put, they could probably fill up a video vlog on their own, and I didn't want to include too many teams of the current era. As, you know, hey, any of my wrestling fans, they're going to know the Viking Raiders. They're going to know War Machine. That's just the thing. They are one of the best tag teams in the modern era. Plus, when push comes to shove, I'm sorry, there's just something about the Authors of Pain that just clicks a little bit more with me. Nothing against the Viking Raiders. Certainly nothing that fans of the Viking Raiders need to feel that there's a debate now begging to be started with me. I am not saying the Viking Raiders are a bad tag team. But when it comes to me paying money to see two guys go out there, kick butt, brutalize their opponents, and do it in less time than it takes me to enjoy eating my sandwich, hey, that for me is always going to be the Authors of Pain, because there's just something about two guys who just don't care. They just come out, they kick butt, and they deal with it. The Viking Raiders, I love them, but they are definitely a team that loves to put that style and panache and flair to their brawling work. And, you know, sometimes I'm sorry, I'm tired of seeing the cartwheel counterattack. You know, like, I get it. He's a huge guy. It is very athletic. It is impressive. But, you know, somebody said for a team that kicks butt so hard, so quick, they don't need a counterattack move. Just saying, guys. So, hope to see more from the Authors of Pain. Now, let's move on to a team that a lot of people love, but a lot of people don't rank as their favorite because, simply put, they came about as a tag team in an era where three of the best tag teams of their generation were rocking the WWE. However, let's be honest, both these men had had great singles career before and after this team, and in my opinion, they were, if not the greatest tag team of their time, the backbone of that tag team division, because they were the guys that, champions or not, could always be relied to go out there with anybody, no matter how experienced, and put on a great show. And that is the APA. Once again, that is a shorthand team name. I know what you're saying. Well, dude, what's APA stand for? It stands for the Acolytes Protection Agency. Now, why are they called the Acolytes Protection Agency? Because originally, when they were put together as part of the Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness, they were the Acolytes. Later on, when the Ministry of Darkness fell apart and their gimmick needed refreshing, they decided to be work-for-hire thugs. Thus, the Acolytes Protection Agency. As their tagline and t-shirts put it, we need beer money. They were great as the Acolytes. I mean, again, Bradshaw, Farouk, two guys with backgrounds playing football, kicking butt, working with a variety of other people. They were highly experienced when they came together as a tag team, working both in tag team and singles division. They were real life good friends, so their in-ring chemistry was incredible. And simply put, it all translated on screen to a presence, because that is the thing that you cannot script in professional wrestling, and that is a presence. When the Acolytes music hit, that just a classic rock percussion beat that just said, you know, adrenaline, energy, and they came out with those glaring scowls on their face, and they hit that ring, and they just started mowing over their competition, who a lot of times were, you know, potentially even half their size. I'm sorry, Hardy Boys, I love you, but those first couple of years you guys were really running hard in the tag division. The Acolytes had so much mass on you, they were throwing you around the ring left and right. You know it. That is not a shot against you. That's what made those matches so wonderful. I just rewatched the classic match from Fully Loaded, where the Acolytes competed against the Hardys and Michael Hayes for the tag team titles. And oh my God, seeing Jeff Hardy go for that Whisper in the Wind, and Bradshaw just, bam, knock him out of midair. I mean, Jeff sold it beautifully. It is such an incredible visual. Hey, all the props in the world to Billy Gunn. To this day, in my personal opinion, I think he takes the best clothesline from Hell's from Bradshaw. I mean, he would do the, spin in midair, thump. I mean, looked like something out of a cartoon. He got so much hang time. I mean, I've gone back and watched compilations of it, and it's like some of those shots. I swear Billy Gunn was just broken inside. Like, I mean, he sold that Impact so well. He made the clothesline from hell look like one of the last things in the world any sane human being would want done to them. But most people, as I said, know the Acolytes, know Farouk and Bradshaw's tag team from the APA era, because that is when they struck out on their own as a tag team, when they put the perfect mix of lighthearted backstage comedy segments to their butt-kicking in-ring personas, as they would hang out backstage, playing poker, drinking beer, heckling the other wrestlers, taking money to beat up people. I mean, it was great. Like, you would sit there and you would see somebody come out the ring, and they would think, oh, I'm gonna, just have a good time beating up this babyface that's half my size, or that's already, injured from my assault last week. And that babyface would just go, you know what? I hired some protection. And again, as I said, you'd hear that music, that da-na, da-da-na, da-da-na, and they'd come out, and that heel would get that look of, and bam, the beating would be on, and everybody popped. Everybody loved it. As I said, I've talked about Bradshaw on that clothesline from hell. The fall-away slam was brilliant. I mean, Ron, you can't say, you can't say anything about Ron. Ron Simmons, former WCW World Champion, Florida State University Hall of Fame player, the man, former Intercontinental Champion, and all this before he ever got together with Bradshaw to form the APA. Ron would come in there and he would just, as I said before, just toss you from pillar to post all around the ring, throw you outside of it. Farouk did whatever he wanted to do to anybody in the ring, because nobody was going to look at Ron and go, yeah, I'm not taking that bump for you, because he's Ron Simmons. You're going to take that bump for him whether you like it or not. And that's just, it was everything you could want in professional wrestling. Guys that you could have fun with in the backstage segments, in interviews. They'd smile, they'd laugh, they'd drink their beer. But when that ring bell hit, it was time to work. It was time for business. And they took care of business. They were three-time World Tag Team Champions in the WWE. And for a brief period of time worked in WWE's pseudo-developmental brand, Ohio Valley Wrestling. I say pseudo-developmental because unlike NXT, Ohio Valley Wrestling was not technically owned by WWE. It was an independent wrestling promotion that had a talent trading deal with WWE. So, it sounds kind of weird. The basics of it is Ohio Valley Wrestling was a small business that agreed to help the big business scout for the next generation of wrestlers, with the understanding that when the big business had employees, wrestlers, I guess we can't call them employees because they're free agents, but let's really not get into that. But if they had guys they weren't using, guys that were just coming off injury, needed to work the ring rust off or whatever, needed time to be repackaged, they would go down to Ohio Valley Wrestling, put some star power on, help the young guys, work with the veterans, and get the experience and advice they needed on how to work like you're already in the big time. And the APA did that for a time period during which they actually won the... Excuse me again. Sorry, folks. I'm actually recording this Thanksgiving, so got a little bit of feast in my tummy trying to have a party. But yes, they did win the OVW Southern Tag Team Championship one time. So great for them. That's just it. Wherever they went, they took care of business. Now, We're going to jump sideways to a team that did run along at the same time. I'm trying not to overload my errors, but you have to talk about this team when you talk about butt-kicking tag teams, because this is a team that you can debate as one of the two greatest tag teams of all time. Definitely one of the two teams that, depending on how you want to look at it, are some of the most championship-winning, prolific. Sorry about that, folks. Winning tag teams in wrestling history. I'm talking about Brother Devon, Brother Bubba Ray, the Dudley Boys. Now, the Dudley Boys started out in ECW before going to WWE. They did for several years go down to TNA, where they were renamed as Team 3D. They returned to WWE to close out their career as a tag team. Devon currently works as a producer in WWE. Bubba Ray works in Ring of Honor. More power to both of them, but we are going to discuss their time as a tag team. Now, as a tag team, they were formed from the ashes of a pre-existing Dudley family group that, simply put, over some internal family squabbling, the Dudleys got narrowed down to 3 brothers. Bubba and Devon, and the runt of the litter. Yes, that is my third finger, my ring finger. I'm not doing anything offensive to anybody, at least that I'm aware of. But the third brother, Little Spike Dudley, who would serve as a sometimes ally, sometimes rival to the main 2 Dudley brothers. Now, during their time in ECW, they would win a lot of championships. 8 times World Tag Team Champions. They would also, in WWE, win 10 different Tag Team Championships, be inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame, in Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, aka TNA, currently known as Impact Wrestling. They won. They had 1 reign as NWA World Tag Team Champions, and after TNA broke with the NWA and formed their own World Tag Team Championships, won that twice more. Won the 2014 TNA Tag Team Tournament, and as separate solo wrestlers, Bully Ray, aka Bubba Ray, is a 2-time TNA World Heavyweight Champion, and Devon is a 2-time TNA Television Champion. They were also inducted in 2014 to the TNA Hall of Fame. However, besides this, they also are a 2-time IWGP Tag Team Champions, which is, of course, the championship of New Japan Pro Wrestling. 1-time Hustle Super Tag Team Championship, Hustle being another promotion centered in Japan. And in 2005, won the All Japan Pro Wrestling World's Strongest Tag Determination League. Sometimes known as the Real World Tag League. It is an annual professional wrestling tournament held by All Japan Pro Wrestling since 1977, and is considered one of the most prestigious accomplishments a person can have in All Japan Wrestling. Among the teams that have won have been Bruiser Brody and Stan Hansen, Dory Funk Jr. and Terry Funk, Ted DiBiase and Stan Hansen, Terry Gordy and Stan Hansen, aka the Miracle Violence Terry Gordy and Stan Hansen, or just Gordy and Stan Hansen. Terry Gordy and Steve Williams, who are 2-time winners, are sometimes known as the Miracle Violence Connection. They are another great butt-kicking tag team. Again, though, that is somebody that we could talk about in much more detail on their own episode. But yes, winning that tournament was a huge win for Bubba Ray and Devon. Truly cemented themselves as a tag team that could bring their gimmick to any promotion in any country and get over, and that is one of the biggest things. A lot of talent that started up in ECW, formed in ECW, and was iconic to ECW, had struggles in a post-ECW wrestling world. The Dudleys did not. They actually got better and better and became bigger stars. Now, as I said, the biggest problem now, the Dudley Boys spent most of their time in the WWE Tag Team division feuding with the teams of Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys, who are wonderful tag teams. We're not talking about them today because they were not butt-kicking, strong, brawling tag teams. They were smaller, speedy, high-flying, risk-taking type tag teams. Now, the Dudley Boys have the 3D finisher, which is a wonderful finisher. An incredible looking one that they can hit on just about anybody. And excuse me, still a little sinus weird. Basics of it is Bubba grabs you, lifts you up over him in the air, and Devon brings you down in the cutter. Just absolute. He's holding you by the neck, slammed. I mean, your neck's getting jacked up into his shoulder with all the momentum of somebody being thrown up high in the air and brought down. It's a killer move. It is iconic to 90s wrestling. So are the Dudley Boys. The simple fact is, when you talk about people from the mid-90s up through the mid-2000s, they were everywhere. They kicked butt on every level, in every country. There's only one team that can claim to have traveled as many places in the world and left as big an imprint as them. And that is Paul Ellering's iconic team. You remember Precious Paul? We talked about him at the beginning of the Author's Pain. I said we were going to come around to Precious Paul, and here we go. The team you have to end with, because they're the team that inspired most of these other teams. They're the team that set the standard for go in there, kick butt, take names, do it so quickly people barely know that the bell rang before they're beat, and that is sometimes known as the Legion of Doom, but more often known as the Road Warriors. It is Hawk and Animal. They had one of the most awe-inspiring gimmicks of their era, which was the 80s up through the mid-90s. Really late 90s, but by the late 90s, they were on the downward trend. The 80s were definitely their era, though, along the first few years of the 90s. But we are talking about the face paint. We are talking about the mohawk and the little two-part reverse mohawk. So when the two guys sit next to each other, bam, head, hair, look like it would join together like some kind of crazy Transformer act. We're talking about the big football shoulder pads with the spikes sticking out. What a rush! The Doomsday Device. You know, Animal's picking you up on his shoulders, and he's making you face the corner. Hawk's climbed up on the corner. He leaps from it. He grabs you by the head. Bam! Just yanked back off Animal's shoulders, hitting with maximum impact. Hawk's landed on you on top of that. This is it. This is the team that just did it all. They did it all. And they did it with a style that was copied by some, imitated by many, but never truly duplicated. Now, there were times where they were not managed by Precious Paul Ellering. And while they were always better with Paul Ellering there to help not just talk for them, but be that third man on the outside, whose keen intellect gave that extra layer of fear and strategy to a team that, well, frankly put, they were scary enough when they didn't have anybody helping them focus and think about how to maximize their potential. And yes, for reference, hey, the Mad Max film The Road Warrior did come first. They've admitted they were inspired by it, and that's not a thing, not a problem, because they made the gimmick their own. Now, real quick, we're going to run through their accolades. They are, from All Japan Pro Wrestling, the NWA International Tag Team Champions, one time. From American Wrestling Association, the AWA World Tag Team Championships, one time. Fighting World Japan, the World Japan Tag Team Championships, one time. From Georgia Championship Wrestling, the NWA National Tag Team Championships, 3 times, and the 1984 winners of the National Tag Team Championship Tournament. International Wrestling Superstars World Tag Team Championship, 1 time. iGeneration Superstars of Wrestling Tag Team Championship, 3 times. Independent Pro Wrestling Tag Team Championships, 1 time. NWA World 6-Man Tag Team Championships, 3 times. Twice with Dusty Rhodes. May he rest in peace. A true icon of the business. And once with Genichiro Tenryu, who is an icon of his own. The NWA World Tag Team Championships, 1 time. 1989 Iron Team Tournament winners. 1986 Jim Crockett Senior Memorial Cup winners. NWA Hall of Fame. NWA Legends Hall of Heroes. Super World of Sports One-Night Tag Team Tournament winners in 1991. 2-time WWF Tag Team Champions. And there you go. And that is all just as Hawk and Animal. If you want to work in some of the teams, the similar LOD Inspire teams they formed with other wrestlers while one member was injured, or unfortunately in the case of Animal, it does have to be said. Well, not, excuse me, not Animal, Hawk. Forgive me for almost confusing them, but in the case of Hawk, aka Michael Higstrand, sometimes he was in rehab. He had certain problems with substances and drinking on the road. May he rest in peace. I am not judging the dead. I am not criticizing those who are no longer with us. But it does have to be said that there were times that the Road Warriors were not united because of Hawk's personal problems. However, as I said, we're going to be positive here. Both Hawk and Animal would team in Japan with Kensuke Sasuke, who would compete as Power Warrior. And that team did in turn win great accolades on their own. They've alternately been managed by Sonny and briefly Christy Hemme. They have teamed with Draws and Heidenreich and other alternate variants of the LOD/Road Warriors team. And, I mean, they're just, as I said, they're everything. When you think about tag teams that are big and brutal, you think the Road Warriors. They set the standard that the Dudleys and the APA and the Authors of Pain have all followed. And it's wonderful. And it's just, it's one of those things where, you know, it's hard to put them over because you can find 1,000 interviews with different pro wrestlers talking about how great the Road Warriors were. The Road Warriors at one point in the NWA and the AWA were so popular that they were getting the largest cheers from the audience of the night, more so than the world champions. The Road Warriors pop is a phrase heard in wrestling in the 80s and 90s because the reaction that team got was unlike anything anybody else in professional wrestling got at the time. I just, to sum it all up, I know this episode's a little shorter than most of my episodes. But, you know, it is a holiday week, and I do kind of want to give somebody something a little easier to digest. The close of it is we've discussed 4 tag teams here. We named a few others, but these 4 tag teams I chose to highlight. These are teams that, simply put, if you tell me, hey, I got this great tag team match, and I go, well, who's in it? It's like, well, it's the Road Warriors, and I go, you know, or hey, it's the APA, hey, it's the AOP, hey, it's the Dudleys. I don't need to know who they're competing against. I don't need to know what promotion it's in. You've already sold me on needing to watch this match. I don't care if I've seen it before. I will always be up for watching one of these 4 teams compete. And if, God forbid, you actually have footage of 2 of these teams competing against each other, because we did see the APA and the Dudleys compete when they were both in WWE during the Attitude Era. I mean, that's it. I'm invested. I'm setting aside what else I was going to do for the next, however many minutes this match runs, because I'm never going to get tired of watching that. Any of those teams, I'm never going to get tired of watching them. So, from here on out, where do we go? Well, when it comes to professional wrestling, we're going to keep watching the AOP. And we're going to see if they can elevate their game and keep growing their legend. And maybe one day they will be on the same pedestal as these other 3 established teams who have had their runs. If not, hey, they'll be a personal favorite of mine. I don't need everybody to be the top of the league. I don't need everybody to be legends to enjoy what they do. And I think that's the closing thoughts. No matter who your favorite tag team is, hell, even outside of professional wrestling, favorite video game, favorite movie, favorite band, no matter who or what it is, doesn't have to be a legend, doesn't have to be an icon. If you enjoy them, you enjoy them. You don't have to defend them. You don't have to justify your opinion, because it's what you enjoy. That's the thing about life. That's why everything, every form of entertainment we have, has so many choices within it, and so many characters within it. Everybody can have who they relate to, and nobody's forced into anything. Unless you try to escape the ring from one of these 4 teams, and they decide they're not finished playing with you yet. Then you're going to be forced to stay in the ring, because, you tell Hawk and Animal that you don't feel like fighting tonight, well, they're just going to say, oh, good, then it won't take us as long as we thought to beat you up. If you tell the Dudleys that, hey, sorry guys, I'm just not feeling it, you know what, you're going to eat a 3D in record time. You tell the APA you don't care how much they were paid, you're not fighting them, well, Ron and John are going to make you swallow your teeth. And God knows, if the Authors of Pain start walking to the ring, it's already too late for you. Once they lock sights on you, they are predators. They're going to devour you. And prey does not get a voice in that matter. That's why you're the prey. So, with that, I hope everybody enjoys their Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Shopaholic Saturday and Sunday weekends here in America. For everybody outside of America, I hope you forgive us silly Americans and our crazy traditions. I can't explain the shopping thing. I really can't. I've worked retail most of my adult life. I don't get it. I'd rather be home recording these vlogs, hanging out with my kitty, watching great wrestling. But next week, you know what? We're going to talk about something else. Most likely not going to be wrestling related, because I do love to bounce back and forth across all my passions. You know what? I think it might be time to discuss some manga. I got my big old pile over here. We're going to discuss some of these manga. And maybe, just maybe, you find out just a little bit more about what I love and why I always say, enjoy your interests, respect the fact other people like other things different, and if you do have to criticize, be constructive and helpful about it. Because it's just entertainment, folks. It's supposed to be fun. If you hate it, go do something else. Go do something you love. It's as simple as that. Peace out. Happy holiday.